It's been in the back of my mind for quite a while, the whole climate change debate, environmental issues growing, pollution. So I've always felt very strongly about.
A discovery was about to shake the palace to its core. It began on a winter morning at Windsor, the kind where the cold air felt frozen in time and the pale sun struggled to warm the ancient stone of the castle. Inside Clarence House, Prince William had arrived earlier than usual, hoping for a rare moment of stillness before the weight of the day descended. These early hours, filled with briefings, handwritten notes, and quiet reflection, were moments he guarded fiercely. But that morning, his calm shattered almost instantly. Before he could reach for the tea waiting on his desk, an aide entered with a controlled urgency that needed no raised voice to be understood. The request for a confidential moment said everything. William closed the folder before him, already sensing trouble. The news came from Royal Lodge, its ivy-clad walls and secluded paths long home to Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York. A routine inspection had been conducted the day before, simply to assess structural safety and update old security measures. Nothing out of the ordinary was expected. Yet while clearing an old, forgotten wing, maintenance staff uncovered a room that had been sealed for years, one no one even knew existed. What investigators found inside the sealed room was no forgotten trove of dusty relics, but a set of boxes filled with documents, tapes, and personal writings that immediately raised alarm. Their mismatched labels, shifting handwriting, and decade-spanning dates suggested a provenance no one could explain. They didn't belong to the Duchess, nor did they resemble anything the palace had officially archived. As aides relayed the findings to Prince William, the room seemed to fall into a deeper quiet, as though the walls themselves braced for what came next. The early details were unsettling. Files referring to private meetings during the most turbulent years of Princess Diana's clashes with senior advisors, personal reflections from individuals who should never have had such access, and even transcripts that purported to capture moments from the prince's childhood, moments no outsider should have been documenting at all. These were not misplaced papers. They were fragments from the darkest, most politically fraught chapters of recent royal history. William listened with controlled composure, though those around him recognized the minute shift in his expression, a flicker of old wounds resurfacing. The boxes had been found in a long unvisited corner room, once briefly used for storage before its former occupant fell ill. Investigators doubted the Duchess had ever entered it. Yet word of the discovery spread quietly through the estate, stirring unease. The Duchess, known for kindness and generosity despite past missteps, had never been associated with anything resembling betrayal. That such materials surfaced in her home felt both implausible and deeply troubling. By midday, William cleared his schedule and met with senior advisors in a private room where tension hung thick. The monarchy had survived crises before, but this was different, a ghost from the past emerging without warning. With the late Queen gone and King Charles leading a new era under sharper public scrutiny, the royal narrative had never felt more fragile. This discovery threatened to expose fractures long buried, at a time when secrecy was no longer tolerated and every misstep carried consequences. The discovery had the power to reopen wounds the palace had spent decades trying to heal. By dusk, a private meeting was convened between Prince William and senior legal advisors. The documents found at Royal Lodge were far more than curious relics. They needed authentication, an origin, and an explanation. Why had they been hidden there? And why use the home of the Duchess of York, a woman long scrutinized yet never tied to anything resembling disloyalty? When the advisors finally left, William stood alone in the dimming light, staring out through the tall windows as winter shadows settled over Windsor. The weight he carried felt heavier than usual. He was not only a son mourning the past, he was a future king tasked with protecting his mother's legacy, his family's dignity, and the stability of an institution older than modern Britain itself. Meanwhile, Sarah Ferguson received a discreet message alerting her to an unexpected issue involving her estate. Recovering from recent health struggles, she had hoped for a quiet season surrounded by family, but a familiar unease crept in. Something serious had happened. And though no one yet knew the full scope of what had been unearthed, it was already clear that whatever had surfaced inside her home had the potential to shake the monarchy. This was only the beginning. Prince William's reaction made that unmistakable. Known for composure and restraint, he rarely betrayed emotion. But when archivists entered the briefing room carrying the most sensitive documents from Royal Lodge, the tension in his posture spoke volumes. He thanked them softly, then opened the first folder, a handwritten memo referencing Princess Diana, penned by someone with no authority to possess such private insights. It held observations from the 1990s that blended intrusion with personal commentary. As William read, his breathing steadied into something colder. He turned each page carefully, though a storm flickered behind his eyes. The next document was worse. A summary of private conversations between Princess Diana and key advisors during one of the most turbulent periods of her life, conversations that appeared to have been obtained through unofficial, perhaps unethical, means. After only a few lines, William shut the folder with more force than intended. His jaw tightened. The archivists continued. There were notes about the young princes, their schooling, their emotional struggles, quiet moments inside Kensington Palace, details that should never have been recorded, let alone stored in a private residence. William leaned forward, fingers steepled, absorbing the implications. This was no misplaced archive. Someone had documented his family's vulnerabilities. For leverage? For influence? For reasons lost to time? He listened as officials described the room where the boxes were found, sealed behind a swollen door, cluttered haphazardly, as if the items had been placed in a hurry. Some materials were wrapped in odd packing supplies, unlike anything in the household. The inconsistencies only deepened the mystery. Then came the question everyone had avoided: could the Duchess of York have known? William answered carefully. No assumptions. She deserved fairness before suspicion. But privately, another possibility lingered. Sarah Ferguson had endured financial pressures, unwise advisors, and people who exploited her trusting nature. Could someone have used her vulnerability as cover? He walked toward the window again, needing space to think. The fading winter light revealed something rarely visible in him: quiet, controlled anger. Not at the Duchess, nor at the staff, but at the thought that someone had weaponized the most painful chapters of his life. When he turned back, his voice was steady but edged with resolve. The documents would be secured immediately. The investigation would continue under strict confidentiality. No leaks, no speculation, only the truth. The stability of the monarchy required precision, not panic, yet the latest revelation sent a chill through the room. A security official disclosed that several documents contained dates aligning with moments of highest tension between the palace and the press. The implication was subtle but disturbing. Someone on the outside had been observing or attempting to influence internal royal discussions. Though no direct threat was identified, the mere possibility tightened every face around the table. Prince William immediately instructed staff to compile a full list of every individual who had entered Royal Lodge over the past 2 decades. It would be exhaustive work, but he insisted it begin at once. Meanwhile, whispers drifted quietly through senior household corridors. No details were shared, but the air carried unmistakable seriousness. Certain archival rooms were locked, security protocols updated, and conversations grew shorter, more cautious. Sarah Ferguson received her first official notice late that afternoon. Her reaction was immediate. She requested to meet Prince William personally. Her tone, according to those who heard it, held both urgency and fear. Before speaking with her, William reviewed the remaining documents alone as night approached. Page by page, he confronted pieces of a past he had fought to shield from the world. Some lines cut deep, others stunned him, but each intensified the knot tightening in his chest. This was no oversight. Something intentional had occurred at Royal Lodge long ago, and now the monarchy would have to face the truth. By nightfall, William reached one clear conclusion: the investigation would not stop with the documents. The past had forced its way back into the present, and he would not allow it to unravel anything further. Across the estate, the Duchess of York faced her own reckoning. Seated in a quiet corner of Royal Lodge, she read the palace's message and felt a familiar sinking in her chest. Very few matters required direct involvement from the future king, and even fewer arrived with such weight. After months spent recovering from medical treatment, she had embraced the quiet, books, blankets, and the comforting presence of her dogs. But now the stillness of Royal Lodge felt haunted. She chose her attire carefully. A dark coat, a simple scarf, nothing flamboyant. Today required humility and clarity. As she rode through the winter landscape toward the palace, she watched the bare branches blur past the window, wondering what disaster awaited her. Inside the private corridors of the palace, staff greeted her politely, but with guarded expressions. It reminded her of past crises, rumors about her marriage, her finances, her mistakes, echoes she wished had stayed buried in a softly lit drawing room lined with portraits of monarchs. She sat waiting, gloved hands folded tightly. When William entered, his greeting was polite but neutral, and the neutrality frightened her more than anger would have. She saw in him not only the boy she once knew, but the man responsible for protecting the crown and the legacy of his mother. "Thank you for coming," he said evenly. "That I sensed something was wrong," she replied, her voice tight. "Please tell me." With calm precision, William explained that a sealed room at Royal Lodge had been opened during an inspection, revealing boxes filled with documents and recordings tied to some of the most sensitive chapters in modern royal history. As he spoke, the Duchess pressed a hand to her mouth. Her pulse raced. Something unknown, something potentially catastrophic, had been hidden inside her own home. "I swear I didn't know," she said, eyes wide with shock. "I had no idea anything like that was there." William listened, cautious but not hostile. He needed truth. The Duchess leaned forward, voice trembling. She explained that the room had not been opened in many years. Over decades she had welcomed helpers, movers, advisors, some trustworthy, others less so. During a difficult financial period nearly 20 years earlier, an associate had brought several boxes to the property. She believed they contained items for her daughters or materials from her charitable work. She never checked. She simply directed someone to store them in a spare room. And now, that long-ignored decision had resurfaced, carrying consequences neither she nor the palace could have imagined. William listened in silence, his expression steady but contemplative. He was no stranger to the complexities of the Duchess's past, years marked by turbulence, misplaced trust, and a revolving cast of unwise acquaintances. He knew she was rarely malicious, yet intent mattered far less than consequence. Across from him, the Duchess spoke again, her voice trembling as she admitted that the idea of her home being used for something improper horrified her. She would never hide anything like this, she insisted. Her sincerity was unmistakable, but sincerity alone could not untangle the mess now unfolding around them. Gently, William asked whether she could recall any visitors, deliveries, or unusual activity during the years the sealed room might have been accessed. She tried, reaching back through decades blurred by stress, illness, and personal upheaval. Names surfaced, half-remembered faces flickered, and trivial moments suddenly seemed suspicious in hindsight. "I was careless with trust," she whispered. "I always have been." For William, it was the closest thing to an explanation she could offer for something that defied explanation. Then she revealed the fear that had been quietly suffocating her, her daughters. She dreaded they might be dragged into speculation or judged by association, that yet another shadow tied to her name would spill over onto their growing public responsibilities. William's expression softened, just for a breath. He reassured her that her daughters would be shielded from unnecessary exposure, and that no conclusions would be drawn until the full review was complete. When the meeting ended, the Duchess rose slowly, her quiet thank you hanging in the charged air. As she walked down the corridor, she felt centuries of royal history watching her, portraits observing in silence, tapestries whispering secrets she wished she had never been forced to confront. Outside, the winter air cut sharply across her face. She inhaled deeply, holding back tears. Whatever had been discovered in Royal Lodge had not been her doing, but it was now hers to face. And she knew, with a sinking certainty, that the worst revelations still lay ahead. Inside the palace, William returned to the secured review suite. More boxes awaited him. More fragments of a buried scheme demanded answers. And the next find would deliver the most devastating revelation yet. The final box, and the shocking discovery night had fully settled over Windsor by the time the last box from Royal Lodge was brought into the secure room. The palace corridors were nearly silent, lit only by soft sconces that stretched long shadows across stone walls. Most staff had gone home, unaware that the most consequential discovery of all lay sealed within aging cardboard. The archivists approached it with unusual care. The box felt different. Its faded label barely legible, its tape dry and cracked with age. One senior archivist paused before cutting it open, later describing the moment as standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing the next step could change everything. When the box opened, a musty breath of long-buried secrets escaped. Papers lay scattered on top, scribbled notes, half-finished memos, unmarked envelopes. But beneath them was a smaller, tightly sealed container marked only with a series of initials. No date, no explanation. The archivist opened it and inhaled sharply. Photographs, but not ordinary ones. Images taken in places where photography was forbidden, private drawing rooms, hidden palace corridors, closed courtyards, and restricted wings of Kensington Palace. The photos were grainy and angled awkwardly, suggesting they'd been taken covertly, possibly through cracks in doors, from darkened corners, or during moments when the subjects believed themselves completely alone. Within minutes, a security officer was dispatched to summon Prince William. He arrived swiftly, dressed for urgency rather than decorum. When he entered, the archivists dimmed the lights to protect the aging photographs. The first image placed before him showed William as a university student, walking through a secluded corridor, unaware he was being watched. He stared at it, jaw tightening. The next image was worse, an intimate moment in a private garden at Kensington Palace. William recognized it instantly, a rare weekend he and Harry had shared shortly after their mother's passing. A moment they had believed was theirs alone. The third photograph shifted the air in the room. Princess Diana, inside Kensington Palace. Not public, not official, vulnerable, unaware she was being watched. William's breath caught, barely perceptible but unmistakable. Another image showed a senior advisor carrying a confidential folder into a private meeting room, shot from a shadowed angle that implied deliberate surveillance. Someone with access. Someone who understood the blind spots in palace security. Someone who had hidden the evidence in Sarah Ferguson's home. William leaned over the table, both palms pressed flat, his expression darkening with every passing second. The archivists remained silent. Everyone in the room sensed the truth. This was no lost archive. This was surveillance. This was intentional. And somewhere in the past, someone had turned Royal Lodge into a hiding place for secrets the crown was never meant to see again. The violation cut so deep it shook the very core of royal privacy. William studied the first photograph, noticing the edges, taken with a discreet, mid-range camera built for silence and speed. Handwritten dates on the back revealed a chilling timeline. Late 1990s to early 2000s. This wasn't a one-off breach. It was a pattern. When he finally lifted his gaze, his voice, low, controlled, edged with steel, held the room still. Who else has seen these? The archivist answered, only 2 people. William ordered immediate lockdown. No leaks. No whispers. Inside, old memories stirred. The shadows his mother had feared, the conspiracies she fought, the unseen eyes she long suspected. The final envelope only deepened the shock. Inside were hand-drawn layouts of palace rooms, security camera placements, and, more disturbingly, the blind spots. This wasn't curiosity. It was infiltration. Someone with access. Someone trusted. Someone close. The carefully sealed container confirmed deliberate concealment, not accidental storage. And Sarah Ferguson's home had been chosen as the hiding place, likely because it was less scrutinized, more private, and an easy place to bury secrets no one expected to find. William's expression hardened with cold clarity. The photographs would be secured under the highest classification. The investigation would be quiet, methodical, and relentless. Outside, Windsor's night lay still, but inside the palace, a storm had begun. As William walked toward his private chamber, he understood the true weight of what he carried. These weren't just relics of intrusion, they were a warning from the past, a threat to the present, and a test of the king he would one day become. By morning, the palace hummed with restrained tension. William, sleepless and haunted by the images, convened a private crisis meeting with his most trusted advisors: intelligence, security, and his private secretary. The verdict was unanimous. Royal Lodge had been targeted precisely because it was vulnerable, lightly monitored, and easy to exploit. The photographs showed insider access. The notes revealed intimate knowledge of palace routines. And the question that hung over the room was the one no one wanted to ask: how close had the infiltrator been, and could they still be inside the royal circle? The question now was whether the infiltrator had acted alone, or as part of something far larger. The private secretary shifted the discussion toward public danger. If even a single photograph leaked, the press would erupt, theories would spiral, and every rumor about Princess Diana would be dragged back into the spotlight. The monarchy would drown in speculation. William listened, then asked the one question that froze the room: could the person responsible still be within their orbit? The intelligence liaison admitted it was possible. Staff turnover, shifting roles, new contractors, anyone who once blended into the palace could still be quietly present. William clasped his hands, steady but taut. Then this stays contained. No panic. No noise. We move with precision. He ordered a full reconstruction of movements stretching back decades. Staff logs, contractor entries, visitor lists, no detail too small. The review would be disguised as routine security modernization. Half the palace would participate, and none would know the real reason. When the meeting ended, William stepped into the courtyard. Winter air bit at his face, but he welcomed it. He needed clarity more than comfort. His family could not endure another cycle of intrusion. Later that morning, he went to Clarence's house. King Charles, already briefed but waiting for the full picture, stood by the window as William explained the photographs, the surveillance notes, and the secret stash hidden at Royal Lodge. When he finished, Charles turned, his expression heavy with understanding. This was no external scandal, it was an internal betrayal. He placed a hand on his son's shoulder. One day the crown will be yours. How you handle this will shape how you lead. They discussed options. Transparency was too explosive, silence too dangerous. A middle path had to be crafted with care. Find the truth quietly, Charles advised. Protect the family. And speak only when the moment demands it. William nodded. The monarchy survived through steadiness, not reaction. That evening, William reconvened with his team. A strategy solidified. The photographs would remain locked under the highest classification, and anyone whose name repeatedly appeared in the relevant years would be examined discreetly. Then William made a decision that felt both difficult and necessary. Sarah Ferguson had to be informed. She deserved to know why her home had been chosen as a hiding place. When she arrived for the private meeting, William's demeanor was calm but weighted with truth. He told her the materials were not forgotten papers but evidence of long-term, unauthorized surveillance. She paled, pressing a hand to her chest. My home was used for this? He reassured her. She was not suspected, and she would not face the fallout alone. At the door, she paused and whispered, "Protect the boys. Your mother would want that." The words struck him like a vow. That night, William stood alone in his quarters, gazing at a framed photo of Diana, bright, beautiful, unaware of the lens that had captured her. Memories of her laughter and her fear of being watched intertwined sharply. He made his decision. He would not allow history to repeat itself. The days ahead would be silent, exact, and tightly controlled. No leaks, no whispers, no careless hands. He would follow the truth wherever it led, and when he became king, the monarchy would be fortified like never before. The discovery at Royal Lodge had changed everything. For William, it marked a turning point, a lesson in vigilance and a reminder that the gravest threats to the crown often emerge from silence itself.